Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be talking about Smart Animate again. Now we're getting into some pretty cool interactions. In our last video, we talked about creating a simple navigation. You see it up here. That's something that we just created within 10 minutes, and it was super easy to do. Now, what I really want to do is I want to get into, doing this and doing this, putting these kind of designs together. This one, we started animating the actual content a bit, like having the screen come in, but I want to actually create a little bit of a prototype here where we kind of put those two types of things together. Just so you can see how an actual scenario of animating content and navigation, all of these different types of elements and how they kind of work together, and just ways to showcase your different designs to your developers and your product team. So let's jump right in. Now, once again, I have a couple of different things here. So let's go back. So as you can tell, we have this same nav. Like I said before, if you're feeling ambitious and you want to go ahead and create a nav with icons, you can do that. Totally up to you. It's so easy to get icons these days. There's even plugins out there. The material design plugin comes to mind. You just have to click plugin, material design icons, and you can easily just kind of start dragging and dropping icons into your nav and, making it more real life like. And to get this, all you have to do is go to plugins and you can start browsing the plugins in the community. Okay, now let's get into it. Now, what I have here is I have a bunch of different screens. You can design them as you'd like, or you can kind of work with me to prototype what we have here. After I'm done here, it would be really cool to see what you all have put together. Maybe it is this kind of mail application that I'm kind of creating with just blocks. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. Whatever is going to float your boat. What do we have? Okay, so this is our first screen. I just have something called rectangle 16. I have a title. Okay, so the title, I just have it named title all the way across. That's fine. What I have here is I have another frame that houses all these different elements. As you can tell, they change from screen to screen a bit. And what I really want to happen here is I want to be able to simulate what it's like seeing, your messages pop up, deleting a message. So what I'm going to do here is if we look at from screen to screen, I want to be able to click this button, this nav item. I want to be able to transition to the screen right there. And then I'm going to have a different item over here pop up, kind of like if you were to search for an item, we can have that just kind of come in. In your mail app, what you would generally do is you would pull or drag down and then, it would simulate a loading bar. We're not going to get into, throwing a loading bar in there or anything like that, at least for now. So we're going to have that, and then an item is going to pop up. We'll be able to swipe on this item, delete it, and then all the other items are going to jump up and, interact around this item that we've deleted or is no longer there. And all while staying on this one screen. So not really a lot of nav work here. And to be honest, this is why, having different flows is so important. You don't want to be connecting your whole application together. You could do that for maybe client purposes, but it could be a real big headache. So let's jump in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my prototype panel. I'm going to click on this second circle. I'm going to bring it to that screen, and I'm just going to have push once again. So I'm going to smart animate those matching layers like we did in our last video. We can already kind of start seeing what that's going to look like. So if you notice that the title is going to stay the exact same. So if we wanted to, we could just kind of go back, click that first nav item, drag it there. We have a good understanding of how these things are going to start to work. So I have my second screen of my messages, my first screen, I don't know, maybe that's my home screen. So back into our designs, we're not going to worry too much about going back and forth within the nav, so we'll just kind of leave it at that. But what I want to do is I want to select this whole frame and drag that over. And as you can tell, the interaction's already set on click, but I don't want that to happen. I actually want a delay. Actually, you know what? I'm actually not going to do delay. I'm going to delete this interaction that I just did, and I'm going to select this whole section and then move it there. And I'm going to do an on drag. Let's see what that looks like. And I'm not going to click push. I just want it to smart animate. At this point, I'm not worried about like these animations for screen transitions. That's usually what these kind of things are for. When you have things moving in, sliding in, you can see what that kind of looks like, that slide in. I just want it to smart animate whatever's there. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So going back, click and drag. So we can create like a little drag. Okay. We can even fine tune that a bit. We can make that last a little longer. So I have it set to 1,000. I'm going to go back and I'm going to press R to restart and go back. So we kind of created a little thing there where this has popped up. Now we can do that in a couple different ways. Like if I delete this interaction, that one can actually possibly use like a screen in between where this is below and there's like a little loading bar or something like that, which would be really helpful to kind of dictate what's happening in between all of this, rather than just having a harsh, transition to that next screen where this just kind of pops up. So you can really fine tune a lot of these interactions. Something that's probably a little bit more smoother for this demo is to select the whole screen, click after delay, and we'll just set it to 300 milliseconds, and this can be set to 300 milliseconds as well. So smart animate as well. Let's take a look at that. So if I press R, going back to the starting point. So we have something loading in. What we can do is now we can fine tune that. Maybe it is 800. Maybe this is 800 as well. If we press R, we can start that again. Okay, that's pretty cool. So now we have that item just kind of growing as the list gets pushed down. I probably just changed that a little bit. That was a pretty long animation, so maybe like 500. Okay, let's move on. Now what I want to do is I want to slide and delete. So I'm going to click this. And if you notice, so I had these set, this one's set to unread. This is the new one that just kind of popped up. But right here, let's go into our design. This is my group 2. Right here, I have group 2 as well in this one large frame that houses. And group 2, if you notice, it's off the screen. Pretty cool. And you're probably wondering, well, why is that off the screen? And this is how we are going to animate this delete state that I have on the other screen over here. What I've done is I have this group and I'm just going to kind of move it over. I have it selected. You can kind of see it coming in. That's where it is. I have it literally off the screen. So I'm just going to Command Z, Control Z that right out of there so you don't see it anymore. But I have it there because when I slide this item, this is going to be coming in from the right. So let's take a look. Because it's on this screen, if I complete the whole drag like I intended, it's going to perfectly slide right over. Okay, so let's take a look here. Perfect. Okay, so I have this interaction. When I interact with this, it's going to move to this screen. But I'm going to select, instead of on click, I wanted to select on drag. And I'll have it set to 300 milliseconds. I think that's a very good amount of time for a typical interaction that's this small. And it will say delete. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm gonna press R, go back to the beginning, click on that. That's gonna pop up. Now we have, if I click around, you can see that I have that one I can play with. And there you go. You can start seeing that now. Oh, wow. Like we have another hidden state on these cards. So if I click delete, maybe if I, maybe if I drag it on drag, and we're going to go back this way. So on drag, I wanted to go to this transition screen right here. So we can kind of play with it a bit. So we can go back and forth. So it's the option to delete, but if I click, let's see, we can make a second interaction. So this is another thing that you're going to learn now, is that you can create more than one interaction on a button. It can have a hover state, it can have a click state, it can have a drag state, etc. You can create a bunch of different things. So this one's going to have a drag state and a click state. So I'm going to have that one. I'm going to set that one to on click and navigate to this transition screen. So I've dragged that arrow right there. And same settings, I'm just going to keep them simple. And there we go. If I click on the prototype, let's see what that looks like. So you notice that I can still drag it, but as soon as I delete it, it's gone. You notice that that delete button is no longer there. Pretty cool. And if you notice this, we're going to go back to the main screen again. I want you to notice one thing about this interaction in particular. It's pretty jarring even with kind of Smart Animate. So I'm going to go back, new message going to pop up. I'm going to slide. This is really smooth. This dragging interaction is amazing. But when I click here, what's going to happen is, because I've actually deleted this layer, if we go back to our design, you'll notice that this layer is not there any longer. I've literally deleted it. And so because there is no layer there, because there's no layer matching that name, nothing's going to Smart Animate. It's just going to dissolve. So what you could actually do is you can create another screen in between these two and have that layer either shrink. You can have it move off of the screen in any which way you like. You can have it decrease in opacity while it's doing that. So that way this creates a little bit less of a jarring experience where you kind of have this moving up as it's fading. This can kind of hold at the bottom here while this is animating. And then once it's gone, then this moves up in the following screen. So it's less jarring like this. So that was pretty good though. I think this is going to get you ready and going in terms of understanding how to start animating certain elements, maybe how to create some pretty cool effects of things moving while you're dragging. So now that you have all these different types of properties that you know how to Smart Animate, these are going to be like your foundation for Smart Animating in Figma.